Hi guys, do you hear us?
Sorry.
Actually, it's already shared to all my groups.
Perfect.
Okay, so welcome back to another episode of Kherk Roldan SEO Show. This is the show for SEO, e-commerce, and digital marketing. Kherk Roldan SEO Show was launched to deliver high-quality insights, best advice, and tips from the top SEO expert to the community. In today's episode, we have Daryl Rosser. Daryl has been a website since he was 13 years old, but it wasn't until he was 16 that he turned those sites into a business via affiliate marketing. And this guy made 22,000 US dollar in one day when he was only 17 years old. And he was featured on the Ahrefs blog, Search Engine Journal, and Chiang Mai SEO Conference, Vietnam SEO Summit, and other SEO sites. He teaches advanced SEO strategies to other SEO agencies and consultants, and he is the founder of one of the largest SEO Facebook group in the industry and the legendary Zeal podcast. So, bro Daryl, thank you so much for having this time for this interview. I appreciate it. All the viewers appreciate it. It is a pleasure and an honor to be speaking with you right now. So, without further ado, for anyone who doesn't know you already, can you tell us brief about who you are and what you do?
Sure, man. So firstly, thank you. That's a really awesome introduction, and I think you kind of covered pretty much everything. Let me get rid of this little guy. Come on. All right. So yeah, I mean, you basically covered everything. I started online, like digital marketing type stuff when I was 13 years old, originally just building like little forums and stuff for fun of it. Got into affiliate marketing and very spammy type stuff, and not stuff I really recommend or condone anymore. But that's what I started when I was like 16, 17 years old. Made a lot of money, lost all that money, long story short, and eventually stumbled my way into SEO. And that's what I've been doing now for the past 7 years now. So SEO was originally local clients and built up a local consultant business more so than an agency. And in that time, I've also done affiliate SEO, working on my first e-com store, but that's early days. Work with other types of clients, e-com, national type sites, B2B, all sorts of stuff like that. Sold training courses. We have link services these days. So a little bit of everything just within the SEO space these days.
Wow. So I want to ask you this. How you generated 22,000 US dollar in one day when you are 17 years old?
It's very spammy. So I wouldn't exactly do. My advice these days is different. I'll explain exactly what I did, but my advice these days is not to do what I did, which was chasing after very short-term cash, where I'd make 22 grand a day, and the next day, or in that case, it was like 17. But in other cases, we'd make 10 grand in a day, and the next day make 100 or not barely anything. It was just very up and down. And what it was the 22 grand was a viral site. Basically, you go on the site and it says share this link with your friends to unlock whatever. And we were doing Microsoft points, and it was all this incentivized CPA affiliate stuff. But basically, the site went viral. It got 3 million visitors, something in less than a month. It made
Wow.
22 grand in a day, 92 grand in a week, and so on. But then it died out. So a few months later, it was down to a couple $100 a month. So it's just very, very short term. We had other stuff with like Facebook apps and stuff. Again, spamming. It'd make 10 grand in a day. Facebook would shut down the app, and the next day would make nothing. So
Wow. Wow, I'm blown away, mate. And at that age, I only played online games and was not thinking about my future. So, guys, if you have
but to be fair, I was making money, but short term because I wasn't thinking about the future. That's the point.
yeah, it's still a big money, right? So, guys, if
Yeah.
you have any questions, drop in the comment section as I'm reading everything, and I know you have a lot of questions to Daryl. Daryl, what are the benefits or importance of applying SEO in online store, and why not depending on ads?
Well, I mean, you could in terms of like pay per click, and that's the same sort of idea, but you have to constantly pay for every single click. But if we're talking versus Facebook ads or anything like that, then it's search is bottom of funnel. It's someone searching to buy a product, and you're putting your category page or possibly product page, but usually category page right in front of them. So someone searching to buy, I don't know, an office chair, and then you're coming up to sell office chairs. I mean, the traffic's going to convert way better than any Facebook ad or anything like that. And again, you can do AdWords or something like that, or Google search ads, but it's not that cheap. And you pay for every single click. Whereas you invest in SEO, you're going to rank for multiple categories across your page, across your site, and it's just really good traffic that converts ultimately because buyer intent,
Yeah, correct. So you're right with that, and this is also the reason why I'm encouraging all e-commerce sites owners not only depending on ads, because
Yeah,
what will happen if we stop paying for ads, right? We cannot also see any results. On I also believe that organic is the future.
I would say though, I'm an SEO guy through and through. I'd recommend doing both. Like, why not do organic
Correct.
and
Yes.
run ads? Yeah.
Yeah. So how about both, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the best approach. You do everything, presuming it works.
Yes. Yeah. So when handling e-commerce websites, what is your biggest problem you encountered, and how do you resolve it? By the way.
It depends on the specific client and what we're looking at, but most of the time, what we're going to identify first is going to be the biggest issues initially, especially when we're not working with brand new sites, is going to be technical issues. So the first thing we do when we land a client is run a full technical audit, go through or export everything out of Google Search Console, Google Analytics, and things like that, then run through every single issue, because you often find even on the smaller side for e-commerce, which is going to be 1,000 pages of that, there's going to be technical issues. So maybe there is, we had a client recently, and almost every single category page and product page was canonicalized. If you don't know what canonical tag is, it basically tells them where the original version of this page is, in a simple way of putting it. And every single one of them had the canonical tag set as the homepage.
Yeah.
So thankfully, it was being ignored by Google anyway, but that's a major technical issue. So we're just
Yeah.
trying to find any sort of technical issues like that. Sometimes there's big ones, sometimes there's little ones, but it's usually a bunch of broken links and broken canonical tags and missing pages, and then on page level missing title tags and duplicate title tags and all sort of stuff that we usually start off with first.
All right. So since we are talking about technical SEO, for you, what are the most important aspect of technical SEO?
It depends. So obviously there's gonna be important things like your canonical I just mentioned, like if pages are not correctly indexed or no indexed, or like robots blocking anything like that. Obviously that's your priority. The other thing is, it kind of depends. So the way we like to approach it is, obviously we start with those key issues like that, because that's gonna cause major issues. But beyond that, the approach we take is, when we go through the audit, we prioritize in terms of the impressions from Google Search Console that the page gets. So not necessarily the clicks and the traffic, because hey, that might actually be the issue. And maybe the issue may be that they're ranking okay, they're ranking on the first page, but their title tag or their meta description is like either non-existent or not optimized for clicks. So if we prioritize based on impressions, then we see, okay, these ones are getting a lot of impressions, and then we can also figure out if it's an issue of CTR, and then we can optimize for that as well. But we're prioritizing more based on the specific pages that can make the biggest impact, beyond the major issues where are the site-wide issues with crawling, or site-wide issues with canonical tags, or even important, that's going to have a major impact.
Yeah. So I agree with that. And for that, so what is your SEO strategy for a new e-commerce website, Daryl?
For a new site,
For a new site.
firstly, the biggest thing, which I see a lot of stores messing up, even established sites, is do the keyword research and plan out which categories we're going to create.
Yeah.
I think category SEO, in optimizing is huge for e-commerce, and a lot of people will create categories based purely on user experience, which of course is good, but you have to think about all the different variations. I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head. For example, if you're selling gaming stuff, then you could have a category for games. But I mean, some people may search to buy games, but people might search to buy Nintendo Switch games or PS4 games, stuff. And so you want to have categories for every single category product type variant that people are searching, and that allows you to then rank for them. So one of the first things we're going to do, because a new site is not going to be technical issues because you're creating the site, create it, do the keyword research, and focus on bottom of funnel, so product related category pages, and then create enough categories to be able to rank for all these things.
Yeah, so I agree with that. Amit. You should start, guys. You should start begin with research and always when doing SEO. Always every SEO strategy should first start with e-commerce research. And secondly, you need to find out what a competitor does.
I started with local, right? So I said I used to do a lot of local SEO. With local SEO, there's no real technical SEO. Like, not really. Like, sure, there may be a couple pages that were deleted, and maybe someone changed the URL structure at some point. But I mean, there's going to be like 20 pages on the site. Whereas a small e-commerce site has 1,000 pages. A decent sized e-commerce site has 10,000 pages. It's drastically different when it comes to technical SEO. That's like what we're mostly focused on these days is technical SEO. When it comes to these sites, it's massive. So you don't really have to do it for local SEO. You can kind of skip over it. With e-commerce, every single client starts with an audit. The first thing we want to do is do a full audit of the site and plan out exactly what we need to fix in terms of technical on page. With local clients, I mean, you're ranking a homepage. You're usually just ranking the homepage for like service, name, location. So there's not like 1,000 pages. You're not trying to rank 300 pages. You're just trying to rank one single page. So that's really easy. Same with B2B, anything like that. You still maybe ranking a few service pages, but it's not that much. So you can skip technical SEO. On-page SEO is easier because less pages, and it's just links. And I mean, you still, for e-commerce, you do links, but yeah, it's very, very, very different when it comes to the on-page level activities you're doing.
All right. Yeah, sounds great strategy. And for that, what is the most common problem you see in e-commerce sites right now, Daryl?
It's probably the category thing I mentioned before, where you start off with creating all those categories. It depends on the level. Okay, so I'm talking sites that are making a few $100,000 a year, maybe something like that sort of level. They don't have a lot of them I'm looking at don't have category pages. Oh, you have category pages, let's say. They don't have enough categories to really expand the keywords. So, yeah, I gave the example for it. But for example, they'll have like a category, they sell chairs, and they'll just have chairs, and they don't have office chairs. And even within office chairs, I'm sure there's, I don't know, I'm not a chair expert, like ergonomic chairs, something like that. There's like specific categories within that. Or like you've got like a gaming chair, that you can also create a category for the brand name that sells the gaming chairs. That allows you to then rank where people are searching for the brand name. So there's like tons of categories expansions you can do there to really expand the keywords that most people aren't doing. So that's like the first thing. We're auditing because we're doing like outreach and landing clients. We're doing a lot of auditing for e-commerce sites, and almost every single site we can just look through it, do a little bit of keyword research, and say, hey, you don't have all these categories. You're missing like all these categories. Beyond that, it's technical issues. Every site has technical issues, but it's a little bit more difficult to identify technical issues within 5 minutes. I can look at the categories and immediately say, okay, there's barely any categories here. They don't have category pages. If I want to identify technical issues, I can't do that within just 5 minutes of work. But that's the first thing. Again, we always start with technical because that's going to be most of the issues. Then it's going to be categories because there aren't usually enough categories. And then obviously you still have the links issue. A lot of people aren't building enough links, so they have category pages and stuff. Whether they optimize them enough is debatable. That's another thing. That's that category page is huge. I really don't know how people miss that out.
All right. How important is on-page optimization for an online store?
It's same as any other thing, the difficulty is there's a lot of pages. So I mean, on
Okay.
page, you can use a tool if you want, like Surfer or whatever, and it's going to tell you how to optimize on a page level. But the difficulty is when, again, we're working on a small site, there's 20 pages, so you just go optimize every page. It doesn't really matter. When you're working on an e-com site and there's 1,000 pages, well, now you've got to prioritize. And that's, again, we're looking through our audit, how we start off with, and you have everything sorted by impressions again. So we're prioritizing based on which pages get the most impressions in search, and then we're trying to find like the low-hanging fruit there, basically. So if there's a page that has a ton of impressions, so we can identify, okay, these pages have 80% of the impressions, and it's like the 80-20 thing. It's like 20% of pages have 80% of impressions. And then, well, firstly, that allows it to prioritize that 20%, which is way less work. There's 200 pages versus 1,000 pages. And then within that, you just go through and do your standard on-page stuff. So we start with the bigger issues. So if there is two H1 tags, then you want to go and change one of them to a H2 and maybe want to rewrite the H1 slightly. If there's a missing meta description, then you go in there and fill in a meta description, and you can probably make that a little bit easier by having like a template across every product in the category or categories or anything like that. And then if you want to afterwards, which you probably should, dive a little bit deeper into the page level analysis, and then something like Surfer makes that way easier.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe that Software SEO is great for that one. So is link building for e-commerce needed?
Yeah, a link builds for any site when a rank is needed.
Yeah, actually, I asked that because a lot of e-commerce owners here in the Philippines who are doing print on demand or in Amazon or in Shopify, they didn't include link building. So I just want to ask, what is your link building tactics for e-commerce store, if possible to share?
I'm more in when I acquire links, I'm kind of in the more gray hat area. So I don't use PBN so much these days, but what I will do, like if we're doing outreach, you can just reach out to sites and offer to basically buy a guest post or something on their site, or give them money to get a guest post on their site, or get a link instead in one of their articles, something like that, which is a little bit more, it's outreach links and nobody can tell you paid for it, but it's definitely not white hat when you're paying the site owner some money to get the link in. But it's basically what it is. If I didn't have a link service, because that's what we do, and we basically do that at scale, outreach and identify sites that will allow us to guest post on them or insert links into our content. If I didn't have a link service, I would probably just go buy them.
Yeah.
There's other services that my service, but there's plenty of other services that would do that. You just go pay them $180 or whatever and get a guest post. And that's way easier than doing outreach. But it depends on your priorities. Again, we're focused on e-commerce. Our priority is on-page and technical. And then links is just kind of, okay, let's put $500 a month in links into this, or $1,000 a month, whatever the client size is.
All right. So since you mentioned guest posting, how you normally do that now? I ask this because you have link insertion services, right? And
Yep.
do you have a database or something?
Yeah, basically these days, yeah. So it's a mix of two things. So one, it's a ton of outreach all the time. So you're doing a ton of outreach every single day, identifying new sites and everything like that. But then once you've already worked with a site and have accepted guest posts before or inserting links or anything like that, then of course you can go back to the same site again and then ask them, basically, if you're paying them, because that's pretty much how it's going to work, you're paying them to allow you to post that guest post or allow you to insert a link into your piece of content. So if they're happy accepting some money to do that one time, they're going to be happy accepting money to do that again. So you have that mixture of new outreach constantly, which is done based on keywords, but also clients that order from us. But then the second thing is the existing sites you've already accepted guest posts and everything before, then you go back to them again. And that allows us to kind of speed that up a little bit. So you're not constantly doing outreach every time someone orders.
All right. So yeah, guys, if you have more questions, just drop it here. So I'm reading question here in Facebook group. So actually, one of the question here: how you do keyword research for e-commerce websites?
We pretty much do keyword research the same way always. which is look at the competitors, download a list of their keywords, map it to the relevant page. So what that means is, obviously, if you look at one single competitor, you can see exactly what page they're ranking with that. We want to map that to the page that we'd rank it for on our site, which is for e-commerce. Again, presume it's an established site. You don't want to start off with creating new content. You want the easiest possible win. So the easiest possible win is, what can I do with the existing pages I already have?
Okay.
So you start initially by basically downloading a list of competitors' keywords, mapping it to the pages you already have, and seeing, are there any that we're not currently ranking for or optimized for. So that's like that's the low-hanging fruit opportunities is on the pages you already have. Then you can look at, okay, what keywords, again, mapping it to a page that you'd rank it with, or a category you'd rank it with. It's usually going to be categories for e-commerce. What are the pages we can create to target these keywords?
All right.
So that's all bottom of funnel stuff, where you're targeting keywords on categories, because that's mostly what's going to be. You're not really going to do anything much on products unless you're just targeting the product name and maybe by product name. What you do later on, which is much further down the road, is if you want to get into content marketing or anything like that, then obviously you can do the same process again, but for blog content, not buyer intent keywords and category pages.
Yeah, correct. So I also do use a buyer intent keyword, and I also use modifier that usually indicates what type of
Yeah.
search intent they are using. Right, so that is very important here in e-commerce. So to all of you guys who are watching here, so we can just follow what Daryl are saying right now. So okay, I am going to read another question here in my
Yeah,
Facebook
because I
group.
mean,
Guys,
usually, oftentimes you'll find like by product name is way, or by category name is way less competitive, and still has like thousands of searches a month. So it's
yes,
just like an easy win. Just throw the word buy in there, or buy online, and you're just hitting a bunch of extra keywords with
yeah,
very, very high buyer intent and less competition.
yeah, I agree with that one as well, Daryl. So guys, I see your questions in my Facebook page, in my Facebook group. But guys, I can just transfer here in YouTube, so I can read all your questions without looking into my group. One of the question here said, "Is blogging for an e-commerce site works?"
Blogging?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I would prioritize bottom of funnel, which is your product pages, your category pages, as mentioned before. So start with your technical SEO, do your on-page SEO. Okay, go on in, go on in.
What a cute dog.
And then build links and everything to the category pages, ideally, but you can also do blog content with internal links. But prioritize bottom of funnel first, then your blog is what you'd call top of funnel or middle of funnel. And that absolutely works. And you can rank for informational content around those products, use cases of those products, things like that. And then it's not going to convert that well, but it will convert some of it. And you can link to your products and everything, mention your products and everything within that. You can build an email list within that, and it drives traffic to your site, which helps with ranking anyway. So no, I definitely do that. I just wouldn't prioritize it. So it's very, very important, but get your bottom of funnel sorted first. Optimize for your category pages, your product pages. Once that's done, or at the same time you have enough budget, then you can do the blog content. And yeah, absolutely, I highly recommend doing it. It's just I see people that completely neglect the category pages, that the actual store itself, and just start working on blog content, and then you do it without any keyword research. If you're creating blog content, do the keyword research and create it around things people are actually searching for within your niche. Then it's a strategy, and it's not just, okay, if I just create a blog post that's 500 words every week, then I'm doing SEO, and it's just random. It's not going to help you out. So do it with a strategy in mind, and for sure.
All right. So yeah, guys, I have to say this because a lot of my students, whether in e-commerce and not e-commerce website, they are not doing a blog posting. And guys, blogging serves to be a valuable asset for your online businesses, including in e-commerce stores. And there's a lot of reasons as to why e-commerce website have a blog in it, right? And it's also another great way for brand awareness. Daryl,
Yeah.
I have an out-topic question. So, what's your best SEO accomplishments? Maybe it's about the fastest keyword you rank or the hardest keyword you rank.
Can you repeat it? It just completely lagged right as you like started talking.
Okay, so I have an out-topic question.
Okay.
What's your best SEO accomplishments? Maybe it's about the fastest keywords you rank or the hardest keyword you rank.
I mean, the biggest to me that I remember the most isn't necessarily a competitive thing. Obviously, I've ranked for one-word keywords and stuff like that. I've ranked for keywords with pretty high search volumes, it feels awesome. But the best feeling, weirdly, isn't the biggest thing. It's the first ever client I got, the first ever time doing SEO when I ranked my client #1 in basically a month. And granted,
Wow.
that was
Wow.
7 years ago, so SEO was a lot easier, and you just pointed a few links and they just jumped up. But
Gee.
that was like the thing I remember, because that was like, oh shit, I can do this and I can make money from this, because of course people are going to pay me for this. So that's like the most memorable, just because it was validation that this thing works and this is a business model, which is why I stuck with SEO. Originally, I just took on the client because I needed money and they were offering me money. But after I did that, I was like, hold on a second, I can actually do this thing and businesses will pay for it. And I did that in a month. Like, like it validated the whole business and validated my own opinion and my ability. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So in your last YouTube video, you said you are starting your new e-commerce SEO agency. So
Yes.
can you please tell us more about it?
Sure. So obviously I've had agencies in the past and I've made plenty of money from consulting, which is kind of what I've been doing mostly the last couple of years or so. That works well and it's lifestyle friendly. So I can just enjoy my life in Vietnam and not have to do much. I just wanted something a little bit more challenging to do, and an agency, starting another agency again, just seemed like a fun way of doing that. And I quite like the technical side of things, which we were talking about before, technical SEO, something like that. So yeah, about give or take a month ago, I decided I partnered up with a student of mine, just been through my course, stuff like that. He didn't learn everything from me, but he learned some stuff from me. Ilya, he's an Italian guy, and we partnered up and we started an agency. I say started in a loose sense of the word. We started the agency. We started talking about what we're going to do. We started doing outreach to get clients about a month ago. We didn't have a name for the agency or anything like that, because we're just like, let's just send some emails out and just see what the kind of response rate is and just play around with things to see if we can get a system working for landing clients.
Okay.
It worked a little bit better than we expected, because we landed that first client a couple of weeks ago or something like that. I don't know. Just from like cold outreach emails. So we sent 150 emails. It was 2 campaigns we set up, 2 batches. One was like 73, the other one was like 76 people, something like that. That brought in the first client, an e-com store in the UK. And then they wanted to hire us basically. And it's like, okay, shit, now we need to, what exactly are our deliverables going to be? What exactly are we going to do for these guys? How exactly are we going to like track everything, report it to them? I mean, obviously I've done it in the past, so it's not like it's brand new to me, but we just had to decide how exactly we're going to do it all and create all the proposals and stuff like that. But yeah, it worked out. We got a client. We're working on it, and it's going to be fun. And basically I decided, if I'm going to do this anyway, if I'm already working on it in another agency anyway, why not just show people how we do it? Because I've been teaching how to get clients and everything for 4 years, maybe 5 years. I don't know. And it's fun, but what if I just show people, hey, here's exactly what I'm doing? Like I could literally just open up a live stream and just show, okay, here's me sending out video audits. Here's exactly how we do it. It's not that complicated. If anything, it's probably going to scare people away, because when they see how much work it is, they probably won't want to do it. But I just figured it'd be fun to kind of open it up, and a little bit terrifying because it's kind of public at that point. So everyone's kind of seeing what exactly you're doing. It's not fast. I don't expect it to be fast. We're landing 1 or 2 clients a month at the size we're going for. I'm pretty happy with that.
All right.
But
Wow.
we'll see. I don't know.
Wow. So keep us updated with your game plan and how it goes. And thank you for sharing us these tricks, Daryl. So I'm reading some question here.
Sure. Man.
Clara said, can you share how to increase ranking for keywords?
We cut off again. Can you say it again?
Yeah.
Sorry.
So one of the questions,
I think it's my internet. I don't know what's up with this.
Yeah, one of the question here by Clara. So can you share us how to increase ranking for keywords?
No, not really. Because the question is vague. It depends on a lot of things. For example, if you're on the first page already, then it's going to be quite easy. It's going to be, okay, just check your on page firstly, and then possibly look into links if you need any. But I'd start with on page always if you're already on like the first page or something. It's quite easy. Here's what I'm doing. If you're talking e-commerce SEO, I'm not necessarily always focused on a single page or a single keyword. I'm more looking across the site and looking at those impressions and seeing if there are any sort of easy win opportunities. So it might not be the exact page you want to rank, but you may look at one of the pages and say, okay, this page doesn't have a title tag is not optimized whatsoever, and already got this many impressions. So we can probably rank better and bring in way more traffic just by going there and doing this. So because on e-commerce, it's not necessarily one big keyword. It's a little bit more about starting with an audit and just identifying the kind of easy wins and everything like that. If you're just doing like local SEO or something like that, then obviously it's just one big keyword you're focused on. In that case, just check your on page and then do a use Surfer. That's going to tell you exactly how to do that. You can't really mess that up. And then do a link audit and a link gap analysis and basically look at how many links your competitors have. You can narrow that down to say DR30 plus that do follow, and that's going to give you a rough idea how many you have versus them. And you can even get more specific than that. You can look at how many they have that are, say, DR30 to 40, DR40 to 50, things like that. And it gives you a really good sort of breakdown of exactly how many links they have versus you. You know exactly what you're going up against.
All right. Yeah. So in addition, Clara, before you begin on any SEO work, either it's on-site or off-site, you need to start with research. Yeah, either it's a keyword research as well as competitor research as well. So yeah, that's it. All right. Yeah, since we're talking about site speed, so how does page speed affects online store?
I don't think it's that big a deal. Okay, sorry. I have to clarify. If your site speed sucks and your site is really, really slow and
Yeah.
it's inconsistent stuff, then obviously it's going to have an impact. Um, I'm more concerned about site speed from a usability perspective than search perspective. I don't think trimming a few milliseconds is going to make that much of a difference. But obviously you should try and reduce it because it's better for conversion and searchers probably like it more. But I don't think it's that big of a deal unless it just outright sucks, to be honest.
All right. All right. Okay. So next question from Jason. So what is the best e-commerce platform and why?
Depends on what exactly you're trying to achieve and your technical ability and your team, if like that. I mean, Shopify makes it easy, and
Yeah.
we're targeting Shopify clients because again, it's just easy and it's the same thing over and over again. You get more complicated platforms, but I probably wouldn't start with them because so if you're starting out, which I presume the person is, if they're asking that question, you want like Shopify or possibly WooCommerce is easy as well, and maybe some others, but Shopify probably. I use WooCommerce for my own site that we're working on just because certain functions we wanted was easier to work on than it was with Shopify. But probably the Shopify is the answer. It's easier if you're starting out. And clients with
Yeah.
Shopify are easy for us as well.
Yeah, I agree with you with that one as well. So there's a lot of platform to use, but I highly suggest if you're starting out, guys, so you can just use Shopify.
Yeah.
Everything is in there already. So
And
Robert,
it solve a lot of technical issues for you as well. Like canonicalizing all the filters and tags, filter pages and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah. So Robert has a question here. So if you were start today, how to start an SEO specialist?
Similar to what I'm doing now with the agency, but not the same, because if I was starting out, obviously I couldn't really go out there and get e-com clients because it's a little bit complicated. So if I was starting as an SEO specialist today, I would probably start the same sort of way I did, go after local clients, or if not local clients, at least like, I don't know, national B2B or something like that. Even that's a little bit complicated. Local is easy to start with, but basically, definitely no massive sites. Ecom, again, a small level is 1,000-page site. There's a small site for ecom. You're not going to do that as a beginner. So go for like local, something like that. Get the clients, get paid upfront, because a local client can easily pay 1,000. They can pay up to 2.5, maybe more, but not so much. Rare cases. So start with that, and if you're smart, you can do something that scales more. So you can do local clients like multi-location works very well. So you can have a single client that's only paying you $2,000 a month, but per location, and you have 3 locations, that's a $6,000 a month client. So something like that, or if you get in with like a franchise, something like that. One of the first things I did is work not with a franchise, but with a member of a franchise or a franchisee. And that basically gave me an in to email every other member of that franchise and sell them I didn't obviously land all of them, but I landed some of them, just email them and say, hey, I'm doing it for this member of the franchisee. We can do the same thing for you guys. Here's exactly how much it costs. Here's exactly what we do, because it's the same thing. So
Yeah.
anything like that's going to allow you to scale kind of quicker. But basically, just have a little patience. It takes a while to figure it all out anyway, and go target some kind of easier clients to get results for. Build it as a consultant versus an agency. So I'm building an agency for this new thing because I'm okay with less margins, and I think it's kind of fun to build a team, and I don't want to deal with clients or any shit like that,
Okay.
which I'm okay with temporarily, but that's what I'm doing. But if you're starting out, build as a consultant. So what the difference is, a consultant, you have max between 8 to 15 clients.
Okay.
And the goal is to increase the amount you charge on your clients, not necessarily increase the number of clients you have. So you kind of limit it at, as soon as you get like 8 clients, just increase your rate. And then if you're charging $1,000 a month, increase it to like 1,500 or 1,200, something like that. And the goal is to have, say, 15 clients that are paying 2.5, 3 grand, 4 grand, 5 grand, and slowly increasing that per month. So you have like a super lifestyle friendly business, and you don't have to have a big team or anything like that. For most people, that is a more ideal business than having to hire an account manager, having to hire SEOs, and building a full agency and people you have to manage and deal with. Most people prefer, just give me 10 clients and make 250 grand a year and just have the most lifestyle friendly ever business. So that's kind of how I started, but it can get a little bit boring if you're not, or it can just get a little bit boring if you, my sort of personality anyway.
All right. Yeah. So take note with that one, Robert. Daryl, what is your advice for people who want to start an e-commerce business and apply SEO?
The problem is, I'm an SEO, so I really shouldn't start with, the problem is when I'm trying to pitch SEO, but if you're starting out, the problem with SEO is it's going to take a while, right? So
Right.
I have a store that I've been running, I'm investing in for a few months now, and just getting a little bit of traffic, but it's nothing major because it's just investing every single month. So it takes a while for all that to kick in. You got to do all the research and everything like that, the keyword research and everything like that. You got to do your link auditing effort, and then you got to build links and create content and everything, and just wait kind of for a while for it to kick all in. It could take ages. So if you're gonna do SEO, I hope, one, you have something else that's gonna make money in the meantime, because it's not, and two, you have the money to pay for that, not getting further and further and further into debt every month and hoping that in 6 months' time the rankings are going to kick off and it's going to start making some money, because it's not a fun situation to be in. But if you're already selling on Amazon or something and that's bringing revenue, you already got a brand that's making money, then of course you should start investing into SEO. And even if it takes a little while, that's an investment. It's a no-brainer. But it's just more so if someone's just starting out and they're on a low budget, and then their goal is to make it work with SEO. The harsh reality is it may take 6 to 8 months, maybe a year, before you start making your ROI back, your money back on that SEO investment, which may not be within their budget and expectations.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, before we end, Daryl, what is the best way to reach you out to you, or how can our viewers connect with you?
Sure. my blog is at lionzeal.com, and just connect. Add me on Facebook because I'm favorite on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn now, but I just looking at it. I never really decided how much attention I'm going to put into it, but it seems like it's getting quite interesting over there. So I don't know, but yeah, just Daryl Rosser on Facebook or LinkedIn, and lionzeal.com is my blog. I don't have an agency website yet because we don't have a name for it yet, so we're getting there. More important, land clients first and then deal with the logistics and everything afterwards. Once you get a page, you can deal with all the hassle and the name and the stuff. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. So yeah, Daryl, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it, and of course for sharing us your time with us and a lot of information and a lot of things to learn. We really love it, Daryl. So guys, I hope you had a great time with Daryl. That was a great and very informative interview, right? So I'm hoping you enjoy it, and I highly recommend you follow Daryl website at lionzeal.com or search Daryl Rosser on YouTube or in LinkedIn, Daryl Rosser. I also don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more interviews. Daryl, thank you so much for the
Thank
time.
you for having me. It was awesome.